All right, so got a little bit of harmonic thing going on there, opening it up and adding some detail to things. I'm going to move on to this equalizer here. In the digital world, we have the option of linear phase or minimum phase equalization. And in the first video that Warren and I did where we were going over gear and stuff, we talked a little bit about that. Since I have it on a button here, I tend to check it if I'm using a digital plug-in EQ. Basically, linear phase EQ, a good way to put it that doesn't take an hour-long explanation is that it's technically perfect EQ, and you can only do it digitally. There's zero phase shifting happening, meaning when I boost any one band, it's taking that band and shifting it out of phase. The tighter the the tighter the bandwidth and the higher the boost, the more shifting that band out of phase happens, and it happens to kind of be the sound of different EQs. This particular EQ could be a minimum phase EQ or a linear phase EQ. I know that I need to do a bit of cleaning out of the low end, so let's give this a whirl. I can also make this an MS equalizer mid-side with the touch of a button. So this is a pretty powerful EQ and sounds really good as well. Before I go with that EQ, I'm going to turn the mix up just a little bit. I'm going to go up by 2 dB. Is that peaking? Nah, we're not. So I was able to add a couple of dB of gain there digitally just before hitting anything. Here we go. You're almost out. So never give up and never give in. Don't you burn out. You're almost out. So never give up and never give in. So to reach your goal, all this time, all was fine. Now it's time, you know we're all burnt out. About to black out, got to break out. Nowhere to live, I'm ready to give it all I got. Still feel burnt out, you're almost out. So never give up and never give in. What's up, all my people? With me, living in the struggle. Got no money, get no honey. It's what they say, but don't you worry. Working late, got a full plate. Coming home big, can't you relate? Was all this time, wasted time? Can't take it back, you know we're all burnt out. About to black out, got to break out. Nowhere to live, I'm ready to give it all I got. Still feel burnt out. You're almost out. So never give up and never give in. All this pain you feel within, this is what it takes to win. I'm all in, it's the only way. In too deep, can't turn away. Fight through the struggle, do it on the double. Give up your soul to reach your goal. All this time, never wasted time. Trust in time, I know we're all burnt out. About to black out, got to break out. Nowhere to live, I'm ready to give it all I got. Still feel burnt out, you're almost out. So never give up and never give in. Don't you burn out.
So what I've done here is gone with the equalizer in, once again, in a mid-side mode. Not doing a drastic differences between mid and side. Here's the mid band. I'm cutting the low end down at 20 hertz, just enough to clean out the low end a little bit. Doing a bit of a high end boost. We've already added some high end back in using the harmonic enhancer. This is kind of more of an overall frequency thing. Added a little bit of boost at the vocal area and then cleaned out the bass just a hair here. I'm going to listen to the difference between regular phase and linear phase real quick. So we're looking at the left channel right now on the graph there. Switch it to the right channel. If you notice, the main difference is really what it's doing on this high boost and the low cut. There's the mid channel, there's the side channel. So I'm cutting a lot more out of the sides. I think probably way too much, to be honest with you. Let me hear that again real quick.
It's up all my people with me, living in the struggle. Got no money, get no honey. It's what they say, but don't you worry. Working late, got a full plate. Coming home big, can't you relate? It's all this time, wasted time. Can't take it back, you know we're all burnt out. About to black out. Got to break out. Nowhere to live, I'm ready to give it all I got. Still feel burnt out. You're almost out. So never give up and never give in. All this pain you feel within, this is what it takes to win.
All right. So once again, with the low cut filters, I'm doing a tiny bit on the around 20 hertz in the middle. On the sides, it's closer to 25, 30 hertz. I can't see the number from here. And it's got a little bit wider of a slope to it. With these digital EQs, you can control the slope of the filter as well. So I've rounded the slope out just a little bit on that as well. I'm doing a low shelf boost on both the the mid and the sides. There's a little dip cleaning out the around 300 hertz on the mid and the sides. In the mid, I have a little bit of a vocal pop going on. I think it's only about a half dB. And then the high end, I'm boosting the sides just a little bit more than the middle. Once again, trying to create a kind of a frequency bloom. Technically, lower frequencies should sound like they're physically lower to the floor. Higher frequencies, higher. It's not something that you hear in every single stereo system that you're going to listen to, but on a good one, you should hear a bit of a frequency height difference. And some of the mid-side stuff I do, it tries to enhance that a little bit without calling attention to itself as much as possible. I also checked out the linear phase versus regular or minimum phase EQ that this allows you to do. And the linear phase version, unfortunately, like most cases, just sounds a little too perfect to me. The reason I'm boosting this low shelf right here is to bring out some of the body of the guitars. And in linear phase mode, the frequency goes up, but the body does not. Same with the high end, trying to push some of that high end out a little bit because it wasn't there in the mix. If I'm in linear phase mode, the frequency goes up, but it doesn't push it out. When I would use linear phase is when I want the opposite of that. The vocal is sitting in the mix right, it just doesn't have the right frequencies. So I'll use a linear phase to go in and get the EQ frequencies of the vocal to be louder, but not shift the vocal out in front of the mix. I'll use a minimum phase or regular EQ when that's not a problem.